Hey everybody, and welcome back. Right, so you know what we're going to be building next. As I say, I'm looking forward to building it. It's already starting to cost me money. But as you can see, I got the frame jig out, so we're going to set that up first thing and put the wheels in. Now, I mentioned money. I sat down, when was it? Monday, with the online with Hitchcock's to the parts book there, my little list of stuff. I made a much longer list after I'd finished with you, and it's amazing how many little things it suddenly struck me I needed. You know, I said, oh, I needed these couple of bits for the head. Well, it struck me I already didn't have cams, I didn't have push rods, those rocker boxes are listed as not available. And then I didn't have the crankshaft pinion to drive the camshafts, and I didn't have this, and I didn't have that. Anyway, to cut long story short, I've ended up giving Hitchcock's about £1,200, about $1,500 or whatever. And as I say, they didn't have the rocker block, so there's still a couple of bits to come. And I have to order tubing and what have you yet, and then there's tyres and all that sort of stuff. So, all in all, I mean, it's not going to be I was going to say it's not going to be a huge amount of money. It's going to be about $2,500, I think, maybe closer to $3,000. But that's for a complete, basically brand new bike. So, in real terms, I don't suppose it's a lot of money for what you're getting. It's just a lot of money going out of my bank account. So I better get that C15 and the B50 sold. Okay, so what's what? I had a couple of comments actually about the B50 and the GPS Speedo. A couple of people mentioned, you know, try outside. I was outside with it. You may remember when Linda started filming me, I was sitting on the bike up by the house, so there was no trees. I admit I didn't sit for a couple of minutes. I started up and rode it around, so I don't know. I'll have to try it again. I haven't had a chance yet. But, you know, don't tell me you have to sit around for 5 minutes every time you want to go somewhere just to get the GPS to start up. But anyway, I'll look at that. That's what it may possibly have been. So, back to this. I've got, as I say, all this stuff out. So, first thing we've got to do is put the wheels in. And then I'm going to make the mounting brackets for the bottom of the engine to make a little stand so we can stand the engine where we want it to be, and sorted out what I'm going to do with the frame. I know exactly how I'm going to do it, so that's one thing. So basically that's it. Let's get stuck in and get this jig set up and put some wheels in it. Right, well, so let's get started. So we're starting off with a few measurements, okay? I've got clamps and all sorts of things here. So there's our rear wheel, and here is our front wheel. Okay, so the first thing I want to do, or I already have done, is I measured the width of the rims. You see that rim's got a little bit of a dent in it there. So I'm going to have to tidy that up a bit. See, these wheels aren't as nice as the ones I've got in the B50, but this bike is for me, so I don't mind to a certain extent. Alright, so I measured them. This is basically 2.9 inches, and this is 2.7 inches. Oh, sorry, 2.2 inches. So that means that this one is 700 thou wider than that one. So when we put this in, like so, and clamp this up, for those of you who haven't seen this jig, these two rails, only one rail is fixed. This rail is loose with through bolts. So it's like a 6 foot long vise. So when I clamp up on this rim, there's going to be a gap on either side of this one. And the whole point of this jig was to keep the wheels in line, right? So, if this is 0.7 wider than this, I need to put 0.35 spacing on each side, and then we're level again. So, the previous bikes I've made up various things. So I made up these. This goes on that bolt there. So I have one for each side. I measured these and they came to 280 something thou. So I was 60 whatever it is thou off, which is basically 1/16 of an inch. So I've made up a couple of little pieces like this that go on either side, and then this is going to go in there like that. Okay, and we'll do exactly the same on the other side. So the other side, like two little alloy pieces, they just go in. That slots in there. So now I can clamp it up. So let me tighten that up, and then we'll make sure everything is horizontal and vertical and other things like that. So I've got the wheels in, and you can see here I've measured down from that wheel to here. This is the wheelbase length. So I've set it to just under 53. There you see, it's 52 and a half, something like that. So we're in the right ballpark. Now then, I have one tiny problem. Let me show you. Right, here's the front wheel. Perfectly vertical, okay? Here it is across the rails where we're going to be sitting the engine, right? So it's 0. What's that? I can't even see now myself. 0. Okay? Perfect, you think? Now I must have the tiniest twist at this end of the frame because 0.2 is the best I can get there. As soon as I clamp the wheel up, that's what I get. Now, to be honest, I'm not bothered about that. Again, we come down to, you know, diminishing returns. It's a trials bike. It's my trials bike. That is not going to bother me in the least. So, the other thing you may have noticed, hang on, I'll move you around again. I've got it standing on a bit of wood. Front wheel's just the same. And that gives me 12 3/4 thereabouts for the height of the centre of the spindle. That's right for a trials tyre. They're basically 13 inches from the ground each one. So I've got them set up there. So even though we've got the wheels in, a line through here is going to be the correct line for where the wheels are going to be with the tyres on. Okay, so let's now go, I think, let's do the thing for the forks. Right, well this annoyed me so much last night that I came down and I found if I put 40 thou in the top edge, can you see that? Yeah, in the top edge of here, we're still 0 crosswise. Just check the front wheel, we're still 0. Let's see if this autofocus will bring this in. Can you see that? It's reading 0 there. So there we go. where are we? Yeah, what I've done is, hang on, let me switch the autofocus off. You can just see it. I've got a tiny shim in here at the top, so it's just touching the rim at the top, and it's just kicked it over that tangle. It's weird. If I run this along here, these two rails are dead level till they get just up to here, and then they go slightly out. I've got the doors open because it's such a nice day. But anyway, I've got a bunch of stuff to do now, but I was determined to get that sorted. Yeah, that didn't pull up the focus, did it? So let me just show you, so you know I'm not fibbing. Okay, 0.00. And the other thing I'm sure people are thinking is, yes, it changes just when I get to this bolt hole. But this is 3x2, 1/8 inch box section. I really don't see why drilling one bolt hole in there made that twist. Anyway, as long as I can adjust it so that it comes out even, that's all that matters. Right, well, I've just spent ages cleaning these cases up. This is the Pashley gearbox. There's that bump that has the jack shaft in it. But I'm going to show you something I'm going to do with that in a minute. Plus, I want to put it on because I've just about knocked those straight. Near enough. I'll work on them a little bit more. But I think it's, yeah, that one, oops, goes on there like that. So I want to know, I want to be able to put a bolt into that. Now, these bolts in the back of the case are actually 3/8. So, as I say, cleaned them off. I've run a tap in all the holes, and I've run a die down all of these. So I'm using the cases that don't have matching numbers because I don't know why I didn't notice it before, but I knew, I had in the back of my mind that one of them was broken, and sure enough, I think on the matching pair of cases that is broken off. Could repair it, but why bother? I don't need it. So let me put the two cases together and stick the gearbox on the back end. Well, no, so there they are put together, and they more or less sit flat very nicely. Interestingly enough, look how long these studs are. These are the ones that were on the engine. They're the only ones I've got, actually. There was only two on it, and they're 3/8 BSC both ends. And as I mentioned, when we were looking at my Enfield, they only came to the length of a nut, and I said I was going to have to extend them. So I don't know why they're so long. I even ran out to my bike outside and measured that. The gearbox is still 4 inches the same, because I thought maybe it was something different with having this on it. But, so I don't know why it has longer studs. Also, where are we? I don't know what this was about. But see, somebody's cut a chunk out of that, almost broken through into the bolt. Well, in fact, they have broken through to the bolt hole. So I don't know what that was about. Oh, just in case you're watching, Andreas, you may remember I mentioned the gear change mechanism change. It's Andreas Ziegler. Hope that's right, Andreas. But I'm going to put a link in the description, as they say, provided I remember, to the video where he does that. Alright, so I haven't got any 3/8 BSC nuts. In fact, I've only got a couple of 5/16, which these are, but we'll be alright. I'll order some. So, what are we going to do? Well, what we're going to do is turn this over. You see still? In fact, I'll move you in a little bit, look. That's the way the plates go. Wait a minute. Ha! that's the way the plate's going. Right. Yes, that's the way the plate's going. This here with the hexagonal hole, the footrest is on a long bolt, which is actually a hex all the way along, apart from the end that's threaded. Then that and that is, let's think now, that and that are the frame tube, which comes down this way. And that, which I don't have to worry about now I think about it, is the centre stand pivot. And that's what that is. That's the stop, and there's a double plate there. That's where the centre stand pivots. So what we will do, because these are clapped out completely, is I'm going to cut that now, nice and level. We'll put one on both sides, and then we'll weld a piece across wider. And that, with it standing on the front and standing on there, will be a nice stand for it. And because these will stick out, I'll drill them and we can bolt it down to probably a big piece of plywood, and then that will give us a nice base, and we can just stand that into the frame jig, move it about, we'll know it's level and we'll know everything's right. Okay, so see, this is, look, that's some form of silicone in there where the plug should be for the jack shaft. So I don't know what's been going on with this engine and gearbox. That sprocket's badly hooked. So I wonder how many teeth we can get. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 12 is the smallest we can get on the BSA one with their shaft. Might be able to get it. I don't know what size I got for my bike, but we'll see anyway. So let me cut these. Oh, by the way, I know I said I was going to do the front wheel first, but I don't have a wheel spindle. I won't get that until tomorrow. Also, I need some long bolts. That's a big one, isn't it? That's 5/16. That yeah, that's a 1/2 inch. Right. So anyway, let me do that and I'll bring you back. So there's the engine stand made. Cut the bit off the bottom that used to stick down there. And actually what I did was I drilled these stops for the the centre stand. Actually these probably go on the other side, but it doesn't matter. So they bolted in, I drilled them, fastened them down to this so it stands nicely, it's level. Hang on, lorry. So I can't do any more with this at the moment because I've got to wait for the gearbox to come from Hitchcock's so that I don't have this bulge on the back. Then what I'm going to do is make up a piece actually that goes on here. Probably like a picture frame. It doesn't even need to be solid. So it can have a hole in the middle, which makes it easier because rather than having to use one big piece of, I'm thinking of 1/4 inch alloy, I can just get 4 strips about 1 inch wide and weld them together to make it. So that'll be the back for the swinging arm box to mount on here rather than it just being pressed on in 4 places. Now I'm going to make bolts for here, and it just struck me. I got online to British Tools and Fasteners to order nuts, and they're out of stock of 5/16 BSC, which are what the engine mounting ones are, like this. I don't know if you can see that. Anyway, like the engine mounting ones. So I've got to wait for them. But I thought these 3/8 ones, I'm not actually using these studs. I'm going to make some new ones out of, what is it, 4130 or whatever. So I will thread them BSC where they screw into there, and this end I'll thread them UNF, and then ordinary nuts will go on. Okay, it's a little bit of a mismatch, but I mean, once the engine's put together, nobody's going to be taking these BSC nuts off. Busy day. But you might want to take the swinging arm off, so I think it's easier if they're going to be standard size nuts. So let's go and see how this stands on the jig, and then because we can't do anything with this, we'll get on and do the headstock. So that goes on there like thus, and we can build it up to get to the ground clearance we want. As you can see, that will be going back over like that. Actually, have I measured this right? That seems to be a hell of a gap. Hang about, let me make a couple of measurements. Right then, I've put some bits of tyre on and just measured my Enfield. Actually, that goes in there a bit further than that. And from the tyre to this engine mount in there is 6.5 inches. That's 7. So that'll be fine there. And we know we can come back a little bit, that's that far out because of the frame coming down, but if we're going to bring the frame down this way, you'll see it better. When I put the forks on, I'll show how it's going to go up. But the interesting thing is, that's with about 52.5 inches wheelbase. So let me bring you in, hold on. I've got to move you down, I think. Okay, so hold on again. Don't worry, I'm coming back. There we go. This is this bit of tube here is 1.5 inches. Yes, this is what we're going to use for the swinging arm. Now that is good. Actually, that is really good. If I can bring it out to there. See, I was thinking it was going to have to be right up to here, which is going to make some strange angles. But if I can move it right out there, because it's going to be out. Keep putting things down. There we go. Hang on, let me come around to your side. Hopefully I won't get in the way. But if I can put it to there, that's going to be 5.5 inches. That's nice, because I was a little worried that it was going to be too narrow here to give us a wide, enough of a pivot point. But 5.5 inches from there is going to be great. So, let me pull you back again. That's it's about where the engine's going to be. Ooh. That's better than I thought. Good. So if we make up the headstock now and put the forks on and put them at our right angle, then we can get an even better look. Of course, I've still got to put the barrel and the head on to see where things are going to be, and that's partly dependent on the stuff from Hitchcock's as well, because I discovered I don't have the rocker box covers, which are quite tall on the Enfield. They're about so tall. So the barrel, of course, is not very, because the piston comes right down here. The piston just about disappears into the cases, and that's why there's all this thinning. So the barrel's actually only about that high, and then the head's about this high. So we're going to be about up here. But there should be the alloy. I've got to put the studs in here. There should be the alloy barrel I've still got to clean the head so I don't get clotted up with it, and the rocker box covers. But anyway, that is that's not too bad at all, is it? And that's with 52.5 inches of wheelbase. You can see how that thing is just a complete pain in the arse. If it wasn't for that, we could have everything mounted on the frame, but that's just in the way. Even the oil tank, we've taken that up. That's the big problem. Alright, headstock. I'm back. You know, this is why I like to do stuff, if you like, in real time rather than with drawings. Oh, by the way, if you're wondering about the t-shirt, I got this free when I bought the bike. That's Trials Shop is, can you see this? Trials Shop is my friend Mike's place. And alright, it's 3 inches there. That's with 52.5 inches of ground clearance. Wow, that would be a tall bike. I can move that back a little bit. This engine is probably going to go a little bit forward. I don't know if I need to do all this building the swinging arm as a box that bolts on here. I think I can do it as I was originally planning, auto frame style. I still wouldn't be able to put a bolt through because I want it right out here. But my design of the swinging arm and the Igus bearings and everything being on little stubs, I can still use that, make the box up, but there's enough room to actually get the tube in behind it and make it all part of the frame. Whoa. Some thoughts. Anyway, that's for later on. Let's do the headstock, as I said. Right, so I've got the bearings on, got everything set up the way it should be. So what we need to know is we need to know from there to there, and we need to know from here to here. So that's going to be the total length of the headstock. Get on there. And then that's got to be how far into the headstock we go to make the land for these to be resting on. Now, I still haven't made my mind up whether to do this like, for instance, the BSA frame is, where the bearing fits inside the headstock, or whether to make it the way I made the Otter, where there's a tube and then the seatings for these bearings are pressed on, well, actually welded on, so they're larger diameter than this tube. So we're going to do some measurements. So I also need to know the diameter of this. So let's start off with that first then. So they're 1.652 OD. Let me write that down. So the OD, 1.652 inches. Did I say 5.2 or 2.5? Oh, old age is a terrible thing. Yeah, 5.2. Okay. So the next thing we need to know is how far apart these races are going to be. .195. 4.195. And then the outer length is going to be 5.2. Alright, so let's have a look at some tube and see which is going to be the easiest way to do this. Actually, there is another dimension we need. We need to know how big to make this land. That's 0.172. Right, so we're going to make it with outside bearing holders. So the centre is going to be this. See, that's just the right size to go in there. Then out of some of this, we're going to bore this out to 1.5 inches, which is what this is. Well, to sort of 1,499, so it's a press fit. Then it's going to be 1 inch long, and 1/2 inch fit is going to be bored out to fit this outer race. So when that's pressed on, that'll go in 1/2 inch, and then the inner side of that and the inner side of that will form the land for the bearing to seat on. So let me put this in the lathe and get started. Right, I'm getting ready to bore it now. I took a bit off this. It was 2 inch diameter OD, and you remember I wanted 1.652 for the bearing to fit in, so I thought 1/8 inch wall is going to be ample. So 2/8 on either side there is 250, and 1.650 really is 1.9, so that's why I turned it down to 1.9. So now I'm going to do this to just less than 150 because I want it to be a tight fit. The reason I want it to be a tight fit is if it was a loose fit and there was any wobble in these, then I couldn't be certain that when I put them onto that tube they were going to be completely concentric. And of course the bearing is going to fit in. I need the shaft that goes through there, the actual stem on the yoke, to be dead straight. So everything's got to be right. So if I'm making a nice tight fit, I know that both ends are going to be longitudinally correct. Alright, let me bore this out. So there's the first one made. I've already put the bearing in, so you can see there. Now when that goes in there as well, see, that part of the bearing will be pressing on this. So we've got a step in this and a step on that, so that's a good solid land. That'll get pressed into there. We do the other one and then we'll press them together and then they'll get eventually bronzed. Right, well, so there's the two of them made. Let's see about come on now. Oh, hang on, I haven't done that edge. Don't need to go cutting myself any more than I normally do. You know something? These aren't going to need to be welded. My friend Dick, who's building a frame, actually made alloy ones of these, and he really knows his metals and stuff. So I don't know if it was the harder grade alloy, but these are a tighter fit than I thought they were going to be. Yeah, I'm not going to bother welding these on. A bit further to go each end. There. Actually, I would have put a bit of grease on these. I didn't put any on because I was going to weld them. But there we go. One headstock. Alright, time to knock off for the day. Alright, I didn't quite knock off. I thought I'd at least stick it on there. So there we go. Nice, smooth. Perfect. Right, well, so put the forks in and set them up so they're at my 24 degrees. Put a couple of little bits of wood under here to get me something close to what's going to be the ground clearance, which is going to be about 10-11 inches, because actually the standard Enfield is that with the bigger wheels and what have you, so, and that seems to work well, the way it's just nice. And this is here because we've had a little bit of luck. I've just been looking at what the chain line's like, and we're about 1/8 of an inch or so out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the engine slightly. Instead of keeping the engine exactly on the centre line, 1/8 of an inch isn't going to make any difference to the balance and so on, but it's going to make it so much easier if I can just put a sprocket straight on that wheel without any bother. So that's as much as I can do until my stuff arrives from Hitchcock. I've been doing some of the little measurements as well, actually, between where the wheel rim is to here on both the other Enfield, which of course has a standard frame, and the Otter, which has the curve in it. Actually, you can see I've taken that tyre off because I was fiddling around, I was measuring. But also, if you look here, right, I mean, it is not going to go that high, but we've still got space here. That's about right. So I think we're spot on to get our 52.5 inches of wheelbase and not have to have the cross member of the swinging arm so short to fit in there. But also, as I say, the further out I can move it, there's two things here. Hang on, let me bring you round. So, that's it. Everything's about set up the way it is. Now, one thing I hadn't really taken into account, it's not a problem or anything, but I kept talking about the way this bulged out here. But of course, with the chain case on, that bulges out back here. That's why we can't have a bolt through. You know, we could have made it so that that side was a fixed end with like a threaded part in, put a bolt in, but it's very close actually. In fact, let me turn you off a second. I just went to get a piece of 1/2 inch tube. See, we can have that tyre isn't even tight in the rim there, you know. The tyre actually is going to be there. That goes there like that. Oh, every time I do something, I start to think, oh, actually, no, I see, that would, there I'm holding it at an angle. that's straight. Now let me go around the other side. Right. Oh. What do I want to do here? I mean, this is looking like I could almost put the swinging arm mounting. Wants to be God, I could almost put this as still. Don't think I could quite get a bolt through. We're going to have to take a very close look at this shortly, but not this week because I'm about out of time. Alright, anyway, so that's where we are. I can't really do much more here till I get the other gearbox, although of course now it's looking as if that isn't even a problem. But I wanted to get the other gearbox anyway, rather than use this one, because as I say, I'll probably put this one up for sale. There must be somebody out there with a Pashley who's pulling his hair out because he can't get a gearbox for it, or internals or whatever. So that's it for this week. Hopefully my box of stuff will arrive from Hitchcock's. You know, everything I get from the UK comes in 2-3 days. UPS, FedEx, all this sort of stuff. Hitchcock's use DHL and it takes like 10 days. Why? I don't know. You know, I mean, it's put on the same airplane, so that's here overnight. So what they do at each end, I don't know, but they're very slow, DHL. Okay, so that's it for this week. Oh, next week there won't be a next week because we're going away for our annual camping in the Adirondacks, so it'll be 2 weeks before I see you. So until then, stay safe and enjoy yourselves.